Welcome to our first Southern IPM video. Today's topic is biological control. Extension specialists often turn to biological control to help manage certain pests. Using biological control helps prevent insects from developing resistance to insecticides, especially in cases where there aren't many formulations registered for a pest. At Auburn University, entomologists are studying how biological control can help control pests that attack cotton and soybeans. They're trying to find predatory insects like parasitoids that will attack caterpillar pests without attacking beneficial caterpillars. Tolulope Morawo, a PhD student at Auburn University, won a Friends of Southern IPM Graduate Student Award for his research on two parasitoid species that attack caterpillar pests. His goal is to discover how these parasitoids find their prey through olfactory responses.
Alright, okay, good. So the first thing that chemical ecologists want to do is to make sure that there's a behavioral response of an insect to whatever cues we are testing. It could be a plant cue, the odors from a plant, or odors from the host of that insect itself. So that's the bottom line. If there's no behavioral response, there's no need to actually go ahead and study any other thing. So for insects, we want to check if there's a behavioral response first of the insect to any type of cue that we are looking at. So in this case, this is soybean plant and it's mechanically damaged. Normally we use post damage, like putting the caterpillars on them and allowing them to feed. Just because I didn't have enough time, so I just mechanically damaged those. But that will still produce some volatiles as well. So, because things like this can also actually happen on the field. If a person is passing by and just damage the plants, will still produce volatiles as well. So in this case, this is the white tube olfactometer. Just because it looks like Y, it has two choices, and one choice is what I'm going to connect to my treatment, which will be the damaged soybean plant, and the other one is a control, which is just another jar that does not have the plant itself. So first thing first is to connect this. So what we're trying to test is the traction of the parasitoid to the odor emitted by the plant. In some cases, the insects will choose a treatment. In some other cases, the insects will choose a control. We just have to record that. In this particular experiment, I'm not, whatever amount of trial we're able to do, I'm not even expecting them to overwhelmingly choose the plant, just because I did not infest the plant with a host. They're more concerned with finding the host. So, but we'll see what's going to happen. So I put this at 400 mils per minute each for each arm, and then the suction, that's the air pushing in through each of these arms at 400 mils per minute, and the air suction from here, I put that at 800 mils per minute, just so there's a continuous flow of air as it's coming in, it's going out. So once all that is connected, I'm going to now get the parasitoid. So we're mostly using female parasitoid because that's, of course, the females are the ones that look for the host. And we know the females in this particular species, Microplace crosspace, by the short antennae compared to the males, which have longer antennae. So what I do is put it inside the central tube, and the insect has a chance to choose. So in this case, the insect chose the control. I want to test let's say 3 different compare the attraction of parasitoid to 3 different compounds or 3 different odor sources, I can use this. This is 4 choice factometer. So there are 3 different odor sources and then a control. Or I can even just compare 2 and use odor source 1, odor source 2, 1 control, 1 control. But because there are also compounds that can have the same mass, just isotopes, they can have the same mass, the mass spectrometer will separate further based on charge and actually test the polarity. So as those different ions are separated, these will now identify based on just the spectra of different compounds. So this would be the typical thing that you might be able to find just looking at the different so these would be like this compound is coming out first before this compound, before this compound, before this compound. So what the GCMS does for us is to actually help us to identify each of those peaks. Whatever compound, let's say cis-3-hexanol, alpha-pinene, and then that will also tell us not just the identity of the compounds making up that odor, it will also tell us the amount of each compound. So maybe cis-3-hexanol is 20% of the entire blend, and alpha-pinene is just, let's say, 0.5%. So there's a qualitative difference and also a quantitative difference in the different profiles that we look at. So if we find out what compounds are in that blend, still we don't know what specific compounds are responsible for that attraction in that blend. Okay. So the next thing we'll do, go back to the behavior like I said, and actually buy those synthetic compounds, each one by one, and test the attraction of parasitoid to it. And then we'll know which of those compounds are actually attractive, causing the attraction. Another thing we can do is just to look at a general electroanthenogram recording. So the electroanthenogram recording is, you can come closer, see how I set this up. It's so small. I don't know if you can see it, but I've mounted an insect right here, and we're recording from the insect antenna. One electrode is a recording electrode right here, and this is a reference electrode. So what I'm doing is that I'm going to pass the odor cue that I want to test through humidified, just the water bubble, causing the odor to be humidified, and then we're going to blow it right here on the insect antenna. As I'm doing that, once I puff this odor, it shows up here as a depolarization. So we'll be able to record from an analog signal, which is what the insect is sensing, and we'll turn it to a digital signal where we can actually measure in terms of numbers and millivolts how much the insect is responding to that odor. But this is the EAG. The EAG does not tell us whether it's an attraction or a repulsion. It just tells us that the insect has a biological activity to that particular compound. So the only way to know if something is an attraction or repulsion is to go back to the behavioral test, the olfactometer biopsy, and test whether the insect is attracted to it or repelled from it. So these are some of the compounds. So for this one, so the compound I'm testing today is decanal. It's 1 microgram per microliter of decanal, and I'm going to pick 10 microliters of that. So I will pipette 10 microliters of the compound and put it on the filter paper. Allow it a few seconds for the solvent to evaporate. So all I have is just the compound. And then I put it inside the pipette. Then I'm going to cover it just so the odor does not escape. I'm counting inside a few seconds. then put it right here where I'm going to create an odor puff. As I put this in here, so if the insect responds a lot to that particular odor, whether it's repulsion or attraction, this system will not tell us. The electroentomogram will not tell us. It's just, does it react to it? We're going to see a big depolarization right here. But if it doesn't, we're just going to see the line almost like this. But then we can record it and say, okay, this is 0.11 millivolts. Then we can turn that to numbers. So we can now turn an analog recording of the insect activity to a digital recording.